Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas, joined by Craig Burley and Shaka Hislop. We kick things off with one of the star players from the Euros. Dani Olmo, of course, was one of the key figures in Spain's victory to winning the tournament. Where will he be plying his trade next season? He has a buyout clause that indeed expires soon. Many have linked into Barcelona. Will they take advantage of that clause? Can they do it? And will they bring him in? Let's welcome in, shall we, Alex Kirkland to discuss Dani Olmo's future. And let's not forget, Alex, Dani Olmo only played because it was a Barcelona midfielder who got injured.
Yeah, absolutely. Pedri, of course, dropped out of the team. Dani Olmo came in. Could we see the same thing happening with Barcelona? Look, Barca, I think, would absolutely love to bring in Dani Olmo if they could. In terms of kind of big, splashy moves this summer, I mean, it doesn't get much bigger than potentially bringing in two of the best players from the team that's just won the Euros, Nico Williams and Dani Olmo. I think you've always got to think about what Barca do in relation to what Real Madrid do. Of course, Real Madrid just signed or just presented Kylian Mbappe. Barca, it's difficult to match that. But if you bring in Williams and Olmo, maybe you're not a million miles away. Now, as you've just suggested in that intro there, it's not quite that straightforward. Can they do both of these deals? It's not that simple. You get the impression they're pretty confident about Nico Williams. It looks like Williams, they think the player wants to come, and they've said that they can do it, and not just them. Even Javier Tebas, of course, the Liga president, has said Barca are close to be able to do a deal like the Nico Williams deal. But can they bring in Nico Williams and Dani Olmo? That's more difficult. For that to happen, I think we need to see Barcelona potentially letting a player go, and not just any player either. A significant departure, a big sale to raise some money to offset whatever they'd need to pay for Olmo.
The one problem I've got with this, right? Frankie de Jong then will have to become the holding midfielder. Because, and I know that's a job he can do, but let's not forget when he was out last year, Andreas Christensen went in and played in there. And the reason for that is they tried to put Ilkay Gundogan back there, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. He is a guy that likes to drift into the box, a bit like Dani Olmo.
Yeah.
So this is not... It's bringing in another really good player, but it's not solving some of the issues that Barcelona had. The big issues they had, that they have never replaced Busquets controlling a game in front of that back four. Right? Now, Frankie de Jong's a good player, but physically, I don't think he's not like a Rodri in there. He's not, he can pass the ball, can't pass it as well as Rodri. He can get about the field, can't get about the field as well, or physically defend as well as the likes of Rodri. And that's what the kind of player Barcelona need to be looking at. But yet, this is a classic case, it seems to me, of, well, he's playing well, he's a great player. And I understand you want to pick up the best players that you can. But the problematic position for me, which was a big headache for them last year, was the physicality in front of the back four. And it's one of the reasons, but not all of the reasons, that Barcelona, for a period during that La Liga season after Christmas, were horrendous defensively. It wasn't just the back four, although they were bad. It was the fact that the protection in front of them and the balance in front of them was not right. So all of a sudden you're going out and saying, well, we'll bring in Dani Olmo because he'll go alongside Gundogan, he'll go alongside Pedri, he'll go alongside Gavi, and I'm saying, that's fine. Who the hell is going to defend? And that's part of building a squad and picking the right players.
But Joan Laporte doesn't care about that, does he? He cares about Kylian Mbappe, who's just signed down the road, and we need some big, shiny players to show that we are still very much up there as one of the best.
Given Barcelona's financial position, I'm not sure why Laporta continues to try to compete with Real Madrid as he does, right? That aside, and to your point, I think Dani Olmo, if we were doing a top 100, he gets in midway somewhere, but tidy little player. And also you've seen clubs kind of go away from recruiting based on these short format international tournaments in the summer. I think the exception here with Olmo is the buyout clause maybe makes it a little bit more affordable. And the run that Spain had. And you look at that front four, which all of a sudden could be Barcelona's, swap out Morata for Lewandowski, which in my opinion is a huge upgrade. And all of a sudden you have the Euro-winning front plus. Yes. Euro-winning front four plus, given that exchange for Lewandowski and Morata. And that's what Laporta is seeing. That he gets that, let's call it midfield three, just behind Lewandowski. And that kind of forms Barcelona's attack, or the nucleus of it, for the foreseeable future. That makes sense. But again, I am cautious around already, just the Nico Williams signing and the reported kind of disquiet that it caused within the Barcelona dressing room, and all of a sudden, Dani Olmo coming in, again, it makes so many of those players who've had to wait to be registered and are asked to take pay cuts over the last couple of years, kind of question, what was that all about?
But Spain had two players behind that could play behind the ball, could do a bit of both, could get the foot in, could pass it, and Fabian Ruiz and Rodri.
Buy them as well.
I can understand the Nico Williams one, because he's young, he's fast, he's quick, he's exciting. The two wide players were obviously big news for Spain. You're really building for the future here with young talent that could have a big sell on. And it's a problematic area because they had João Felix there. Previously, they've tried Dembele in the wide positions. They've tried Rafinha in the wide positions on either flank. They've really had no consistency. So they're going to go with Lamine Yamal and maybe Nico Williams. That's understandable. But you have to, you can't just build the jigsaw and leave out the biggest part of it. And the biggest part of it for me, unless they're going to pull some levers, find some money and go and buy players in a more deeper lying role, that's going to be a key area. I mean, we talk about Real Madrid, right? Real Madrid last year, we talked about Toni Kroos leaving, Luka Modric spending more time on the bench now. The fact that it's such a big task for Tchouaméni and Camavinga to come in there and fill those shoes, that it is such an important area to allow the Bellinghams and Mbappes and Vinicius Junior to go and play. And then you've got the legs of Valverde to get about the field. Barcelona have to address that, and I just feel that a Dani Olmo signing, using up quite a lot of money, is not going to address the frailties that they had last season.
It's a very sensible point from Craig. Is it one that's been echoed amongst Barcelona fans, or do they just like the shiny new players, Alex?
Look, I think all fans like the shiny new player, right? And look, we don't know exactly how these pieces are going to fit together. Of course, it's worth mentioning that Barca have a new coach, Hansi Flick. We don't yet know what sort of system he's going to want to play. Is he going to play with a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1? And how will that midfield fit together? I mean, Craig's mentioned the options there in terms of Gundogan and Frenkie de Jong as probably being sort of the two midfield sitters. Of course, you've got Gavi to come back from injury still. You've got Pedri then to come back from injury as well. So there's a lot of uncertainties around this Barcelona team and how they're going to play. But I think you guys are right to point out that Joan Laporta doesn't necessarily think about those things as much as sort of the big picture and sort of, the publicity, the PR value of bringing in some of the most exciting players at the moment. I think he sort of looks at that often more than, well, how's this actually going to work on practical terms on a week-to-week basis? And yeah, it would be a really exciting signing for the fans. Then, of course, if depending on how results go, the fans can then be happy or not. But no, I mean, fans are excited about the link for sure. Dani Olmo was a player that's been linked to Barca for years. Don't forget, he was a Barca academy kid. They didn't make it all the way through, went to Croatia, then went to Germany. So for years, we've talked about Dani Olmo potentially coming back to Barca. It's sort of stronger now than ever before. He's also had injury problems over the years that have maybe sort of inhibited and stopped him from getting to his full potential. He's close enough, he's getting close to his peak now as a player. So this is a player that's been linked to Barca for a long time. But yeah, the finances are the big question. As always with Barca, they'd have to let a player go to bring him in. Who is that player? Their problem has always been the players that they're willing to let go. There isn't necessarily a market for at the value they might want, and the players they don't want to let go, are the ones that would actually generate serious funds.
You've got Olmo, Pedri, Gavi when fit, and Gundogan to fit into somewhere behind two wide players and a striker. Yeah. And if you look at Ilkay Gundogan's career, it's been about getting into the box, and it's been about scoring goals, and it's been about late runs. It's been about doing a little bit of everything, but certainly not defensive, which is what Dani Olmo is. Now, I'm bringing Gundogan up because he was one of your big name signings. Now you're bringing in a guy who is kind of similar, wants to do a similar thing. But if you look at Ilkay Gundogan, even at the Euros, Germany had Kroos and Andrich. Germany had Kroos and it was the guy Emre Can, who played a little bit. So he always had two guys behind that were controlling the game, and he was allowed to float and go and do a little bit of supporting. That's what he does. It just doesn't, and I know fans get excited by new names coming in, but if you're looking at a side, if you're looking at it realistically, you've got all these players that can play the forward-thinking role and pick a pass and make runs, but ultimately Barcelona's biggest problem last year is it was the other way. Yeah. Every side in the second half of the season, no matter where they were in La Liga, could have been in the bottom 3. When you went to the Montjuic, you got chances. And sometimes you got goals. Was it Villarreal or, can't remember, somebody went there and scored 5.
Yes.
It was carnage. And, whilst this is not a sexy part of the team, it's a part of the team that you have to address. There's no point filling your side just full of these attacking players and saying, this is where we're spending my money, this is what we're going to do, because that will plug the gap. It will not. And Hansi Flick, whether he's got a huge say, a big say, or no say in this could be a problem for him, is that all these guys, when they're fit, want to do this attacking, nice part of the game. And to me, unless I'm missing somebody, and don't mention Oriol Romeo, unless I'm missing some, that's leaving Frankie de Jong there, with a shovel and all the tools to try and dig them out a hole on his own.